every one of you can give the reason why you're here, and the stakes are really high. Kamala Harris versus Trump. There's a huge contrast, right?
They're lining up their talking points before heading out to canvass voters in the small town of Pacific in Wisconsin.
We just have to keep this momentum going. And
the energy around Kamala Harris is palpable. But the posters showing off the Democrats' newly anointed nominee are still on order. So Bill is hurriedly punching out badges. There's one to help pronounce the name, Kamala, and another with her running mate, the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. Inside, Margot reminds the volunteers who they're going after.
We're talking to persuadable voters. They're Democrats who don't vote consistently, or the Republicans who may have a reason to vote Democratic. So you're going to get a mix of people when you're at the doors.
So we're going to go up to the stop.
David and wife Megan are among those looking for the so-called persuadables, those voters who, 11 weeks out from Election Day, still haven't made up their mind and in theory are ripe for the taking for Team Harris.
How would you say your feelings were with Biden, and how have they changed with Kamala?
Definitely a Democrat through and through, so I would have voted that way anyways.
Do you feel you know her?
Gosh, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like, yes, I'd like to get to know more about her, but I would be quite fine going into her presidency blindly.
Amy's clearly on board. Across the road, we meet Ramesh, who describes himself as a typical swing voter.
Very open. I go with the best candidate possible.
Then a few weeks ago, everything changed.
We're wondering how you're feeling about Kamala now that she's running.
If you had asked me in the previous election or the election before that what my views have ever been, I wouldn't have been open. Now I don't care about that anymore. And I think that basically changed after Kamala Harris came.
For the Democrats, that's the perfect answer. An undecided voter who appears to have had a political epiphany in light of the emergence of Harris and Walz on the ticket. But recreating and multiplying that phenomenon per swing state won't be easy, especially given for every new Harris fan, there's a Trump diehard just waiting in the wings.
I want to show you another
Go away!
No, just let me speak.
No, I don't want you to speak.
Just like Lois, a Kamala fan, and her husband, who clearly isn't.
What you got?
Just some material about Kamala, Karen DeSantis.
Sure. Oh, no. You don't have to give me any info on her. I love her.
Do you feel you know her enough, that voters know her enough?
Well, you know what? You hear so much about Trump cutting down people. Majorly cutting down people.
Are you more wealthy now than you were 10 years ago?
Go
5
away.
years ago?
You know what? It's so hard living in a household that is Democrat and Republican.
What is it about her? Do you mind if I ask?
She is pro-choice for women on their issues on abortion. She does not cut people down.
But her husband makes a good point. Many people say they felt better off under Trump, so the economy is a weak point for Kamala. And Natalie, across the road, raises another.
I do think she could be a little bit more pro-Palestine for the ceasefire and stuff. Yeah.
And what is it about her that you do like?
I like that she's got great energy. I really like that she picked Walz. I think he'll be good with the moderate voters because he's very like Midwest dad.
In the leafy neighbourhood of Pacific, every home matters to these canvassers. A couple of extra votes here or there makes all the difference in a town where Biden lost to Trump in 2020 by just 128 votes. And in Columbia County, where the town sits, Trump's margin of victory was just 517. But across the whole of this state, the Democrats won by just over 20,000 votes, enough to flip it from Republican red to Democrat blue. But can they do it again and carry the other critical swing states too? Margot believes they can, so she's up with the lark, canvassing in a trailer park to push the case for Kamala.
I think it's about time we have a woman in office.
Gail is 74, but times are tough, so she still works part-time cleaning a bar. Like many women we encountered, Kamala has given her hope.
We can't do any worse than what some of these guys have done. I like her whole attitude. Trump doesn't bother her. Somebody needs to take that guy and put him over their knee and give him a good ass cracking.
Kamala Harris has come to Chicago to persuade voters that she's the woman for that job. Kamala, the tough prosecutor. Kamala, the first female vice president. And perhaps, too, Kamala, the next president of the United States.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Everything is poised for a convention that the Democrats hope will make the right kind of history. Balloons ready to be unleashed into the arena. And tonight, the big goodbye for Joe Biden before the big hello for Kamala Harris. Her chance to tell America who she really is and what she stands for. Outside, some distraction that threatened to spoil the delegates' welcoming party, pro-Palestinian protesters. But such is the newfound confidence of the Democrats that even this can't spoil their mood. What do you make of this demonstration here? Does that bother you?
Well, no, it doesn't bother me. It's America. People have a right to have their voices heard as long as they're not outrageously disruptive or violent. This is my 10th.
Your 10th convention?
Well, yeah, they're all different levels of enthusiasm.
What's the level of enthusiasm for this one?
Huge.
We've got the best candidate, we've got the best campaign, and we've got the best issues. And the other side has someone who can't focus, is kind of old, and he's weird.
What could still go wrong? A few months to go, debates to go?
I don't think of it that way. What could still go wrong? We have policy, we have good character, we have honesty. We're going to get the middle class, build up the middle class. That's what counts here.
Who would believe this? 80 days from now, we are going to defeat a communist known as Kamala Harris.
Trump has been floundering since Harris replaced Biden, but his latest attack line is to rail against comrade Kamala.
We've had enough of them. We're going to win back the White House.
And this is how Trump wants America to see the Chicago convention. Riley from rural Illinois agrees, all alone here with his Trump flag.
We're not going to lose.
But if you do lose, it's possible, right?
No, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. This will be a civil war if this comes down to...
If she wins, there'll be a civil war?
Correct.
You've got to be kidding.
Nope.
Really?
We're done. We're done with this inflation, open borders.
But a civil war seems a bit drastic, doesn't it? I mean, you win some, you lose some, right?
You know what? The government works for us. We the people.
But in today's divided America, we the people means very different things depending on who you speak to. One side's victory is the other side's calamity. It is zero-sum politics. Whatever happens in November will be historic. So enjoy the beach while you can. Well, things are slowly kicking off in the hall behind me. We just had a very noisy sound check. Perhaps we can avoid that for the next few minutes. With me is Simon Rosenberg, a party strategist who founded the New Democrat Network. Simon, great to have you here. I'm sorry they stopped the music for you.
I know.
I tried to get them to carry on.
This is going to be a joyous convention. I think we just saw that in action.
Okay.
Right?
And we're going to have Hillary Clinton here tonight and AOC. They represent different wings of the party.
Yeah.
How united is this party?
It's very united. I've been doing this a long time, decades, and I don't think the party has been this joyous, happy, confident, united in any of the years.
What have you been having for breakfast? Do I believe any of that? You're drinking the Kool-Aid here.
I am. I'm drinking. I had a lot of coffee today.
Right, okay.
No, but it's true, actually. I mean, I think in all the serendipity of everything that's happened over the last 6 weeks, we've come together here for this convention, leading in the polls, raising tons of money with a terrific ticket, and people are really excited, honestly.
But, you know, literally, about 24 hours before Biden stepped aside, people were telling me, Democrats, your friends were telling me, Kamala Harris, I'm not so sure we might lose the election. How did she go from being zero to hero in 48 hours?
Listen, this has been a miraculous period in our political history. And her performance, I mean, she seized the moment. This happens with politicians and elected leaders, that history gives them a chance to rise, and she has risen. She has seized this moment. She's in command of this race. She's performing at an unbelievably high level. And the country's really responding to her. I mean, that's the other thing. You've seen the crowds. You've seen the energy. You've seen the passion.
But what, is that about the triumph of low expectations?
I think it's a couple things. I think one is that the country is ready to move beyond MAGA and Trump. There's this desperation to get to a better politics.
Still 50-50 in the polls, though, isn't it?
Well, I would say we're up a few points. I would much rather be us than them as we head into the home stretch here. And so, but I think there is this weariness. Remember, MAGA performed poorly in 2018 and 2020 and 2022. And I think that the country, there's an anti-MAGA majority in America that is ready to move on to a better politics and wants to bring people back together and not push them apart, and wants a strong economy and a better future. And I think the vice president has really tapped into that. And I think it is like lightning in a bottle. But it's right now, it's powerful. It's far more powerful. I think the best column I've read in the last few days was that Trump now has to accept that he's not driving American politics like he's been doing for 9 years. There's a new kid in town.
Right, but he's floundering. I mean, that even his own people are saying that. Nikki Haley said it the other day quite brutally, even though she kissed his ring at the convention. But when he gets his message back on track and he attacks her or the administration for their record on the economy, on immigration, on crime, these things hit home with Americans, don't they?
They can, but I think that it's going to be I think Trump is in real trouble. I mean, I think we are strong. He is flailing, to your point. And I think he's barely campaigning. He disappeared for a few weeks. I don't think he's connecting with the American people. His performances on the stump are wild, and I think they're struggling to figure out how to run against her, and they don't have a lot of time to figure it out.
But people are still on holiday. The beaches in Chicago are full. People are eating too many hot dogs. When they get back to work after Labor Day, kids are back at school. That's when they pay attention.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I feel, again, I would much rather be us than them. I think we've got candidates who represent the future, a better future for the country. I think the country doesn't want to go back to Donald Trump. And I think it's in many ways, this election is operating at a very simple level.
What about the debates? She hasn't had a debate with him yet. She's not really been tested in interviews either, right?
Yeah. No, listen, she's obviously a very capable and smart communicator and public official. She's been doing
some terrible interviews in the past.
Yeah, but she's been doing this a long time, and I think I think Democrats welcome the debate, and also given Trump's historically terrible performance both at the debate and on the stump, he just wanders off into this sharks and magnets and all these things that he talks about. He's been unable to restrain himself in his public appearances. It's far more likely that he has a bad night than the vice president.
Just very briefly and finally, if she wins but he doesn't accept the results, how much trouble is this country in?
Well, I think we have to win the election by as much as we possibly can so that that doesn't become an issue.
Okay. Simon Rosenberg here at the convention. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.